Welcome back to Pop Tabs, keeping tabs on all your pop culture news. I'm your host, Matthew Yapp.
I am your co-host, Mayzie Brammer.
Join us today.
Daley, Whilhelm.
Oh, we love having you back, Daley.
Thank you. I love to be here.
Well, you know what you're not going to love to do, Daley?
Oh, no.
I have a surprise for us.
It's a bag!
It's a bag!
It's a
I have a
bag.
flannel bag for you. But inside the flannel bag is what's not fun. So, you know, we're Pop Tabs, so I had an awful idea of Pop Rocks. So you guys get these open, and with my initial answer, you don't have to do it for every answer, or for every question, but for my initial question, your initial answer has to be with Pop Rocks in your mouth.
This should be
because
fun.
I'm bored.
This is
What
watermelon,
flavor is
thank
this?
you.
Watermelon, yeah.
Tropical punch.
Yeah. Got
Popping candy.
Got those for you. So, you guys get that ready while I tell you about all the
Ready for this.
strange things happening with the kids in Stranger Things. Namely, 27-year-old Instagram model Allie Michael said in a post, not to be weird, but hit me up in a few years with a picture of Finn Wolfhard on there. So implying that she wants to sleep with this 14-year-old boy. So weird as heck. So with those Pop Rocks in your mouth, what are your guys' thoughts on the sexualization of child actors?
Not cool.
I really think that if I can,
Just flew out of your
I
mouth.
know. I think it's really wrong. I can't think anything but this popping noise.
So yeah, I agree. That's really wrong.
It's really wrong.
It's really
Really
wrong.
wrong.
It's
Oh,
really
it's
wrong.
Pretty wrong. Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think that this is gonna sound so weird, but I kind of think that people assume that when you're like a celebrity, you're allowed to just like sexualize all you want, no matter
Yeah.
the age. Like Millie Bobby Brown, who is a 13-year-old girl, was named by W Magazine one of the sexiest women in Hollywood. And the term sexiest on a 13-year-old girl is so messed up to me.
She's not even a woman. She's
No.
a girl.
She is not
She's
a
a
woman in
child.
Hollywood. Yeah.
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 Well, I think a lot of the problem in lies with like people. They're not real people. They're actors. So like they can look at them and they can sexualize them and like make them out to be something they're not. But
Yeah.
I mean like they're still children, and I think that people like know that, but they don't believe it and they don't
Right.
like act on it. So I think that is where like a lot of the problem in lies.
Yeah. Not to like defend people like sexualizing children, because we shouldn't. Kind of, at least in my mind, I think what a small part of it comes from is we're not used to children actually playing children. We're used to like a
I agree.
20-year-old playing a like 16-year-old kid. And so like we've never had kind of people like, oh, you idolize this person, but don't be attracted to them. Obviously, that's not a real defense because you know they're 13. Don't sexualize them. But I think maybe that's kind of where just like this idea is if you really like an actor, you have to
Yeah.
like find them sexy. I don't know. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people are so far removed from celebrity that they're like, I'm never going to ever like actually interact with this person.
Right.
So it's okay to say weirdly sexual things about them online because I mean, if people realize that what they said online would eventually get back to the people that they say it about, they would not be saying,
No.
I want to call Finn Wolfhard daddy or something like that when he is a 13-year-old child. He's a 14. It doesn't matter. He's a child. But yeah,
Baby boy.
Yeah.
I think that people don't realize that everyone has internet access at this point, practically, and eventually they're going to see that, and maybe they're not going to take it to heart, maybe they shouldn't, but at the same time, if they're children, don't say it.
Don't say
Yeah.
it.
Don't say it.
Yeah, and I think it also leads into like, hypermasculinity gets played into it because you have all these other guys come in and say like, well, if I had a model when I was
yeah.
14, coming saying these things to me, like I would be grateful. Like this kid needs to, like sort out his priorities, but like you don't get to decide like how other people feel about things,
Yeah.
and like, and if it was a girl, if it was flipped, like I don't think that people would be saying that.
No,
So
absolutely not.
It definitely like hypermasculinity is brought into it, and people play that up too.
Yeah.
And that's just a product of our society, I guess. But
No, you're absolutely, because there was tons of like dudes on Twitter like, oh, if that super hot Instagram model would have hit on me when I was 14, I would have gone crazy.
yeah, but you're saying that retroactively also because you're not 14
Yeah.
and you're not in the limelight.
I'll say that's the thing.
So-
like as a 14-year-old, if you, at least when I was 14, if a grown woman was sexualizing me, I would have been uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I would not have liked that.
Yeah, and lots of grown women. You know, it's
Yeah.
not just this one isolated incident. I'm sure, like I know, like people show up to their hotel rooms and
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
and
No, don't do that.
Super
Don't-
gross.
It's not a compliment at that point. It's just
It's
stalking.
It's stalking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Please stop.
But no, it's kind of like you said. I think that it does kind of play into hypermasculinity that we give we have this concept that teenage boys have to be super horny and just wanting to sleep with everybody. But no, that's not how it has to be.
No.
If you're a 14-year-old boy, you could be creeped out by adults hitting on you.
You probably should be.
You really should be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should teach that to our kids. It's not a compliment to have someone catcall you or whatever. There just doesn't need to be that mindset of, well, it's a compliment. They are attracted to you and they're trying to express that. It's like, no, that is predatory behavior if it's to a child, because that person should know better.
Yes.
yeah.
No, and I think Millie Bobby Brown, obviously there's not a worse situation, but I think Millie Bobby Brown gets it more.
Oh, yeah.
Just because she is a woman in Hollywood.
Yeah.
If we've learned anything the past couple weeks, it's women in Hollywood don't get treated well.
Yeah.
But down to her looks, people fetishizing her, people criticizing what she wears. She's a 13-year-old girl. What did you wear when you were 13?
Yeah.
Because I wore suspenders and a pocket watch.
Bless.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was into Doctor Who at the time.
Me
That
too.
explains-
Oh my gosh.
I really wanted to be
There's
Matt
that,
Smith.
there was that phase
Matt
everyone
Smith.
had where they thought waistcoats were cool, or vests. That vests could happen. Stop trying
Yeah.
to make vests happen. Now.
Stop trying to make fetch happen.
Stop
It's never
trying
going
to
to
make
happen.
But no, I read an article where it was basically going through, and it went through a couple of grown women's their wardrobe when they were out about in the town, which is f off anyways. But it was criticizing all of their different outfits, and it got to Millie Bobby Brown, the only 13-year-old girl on the list, and it basically said that, oh, her dress, it's so unflattering, it makes her look really flat-chested. Because she's
she hasn't
13.
Maybe because she hasn't hit puberty yet.
She's flat-chested.
It's that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to question yourself in writing that sentence. You are inherently talking about an underage girl's chest. That's pedophilia,
Yeah,
kind
it's-
of
At the very least, it's creepy.
Yeah.
As all get out. No, obviously I'm a dude, so I when I was that age, I didn't have quite. I remember my sisters, a lot of what they wore was really criticized and not as much me. So as women, when you were younger, do you feel grown men and women criticizing what you wore? Was that kind of an issue?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, first of all, I think you're at that age where you're just hyper aware of everything. You're hyper aware of yourself. So, and you're super self-conscious, and you're just starting to have changes happen to your body. So anything you do is met with scrutiny from yourself, and then immediately by other people.
Yeah.
Whether it be your peers or your parents, or in this case, people in Hollywood. And I just think that putting that burden on a 13-year-old kid that already has those feelings, having that confirmed by people in the news, I mean, that's a whole other problem entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing I've ever dealt with, obviously, on that scale, but I
Right.
can relate because I know how it is to feel that, self-conscious about yourself when you're just trying to, be yourself, I guess.
Yeah. I remember being 13 and I painted my nails red, which I usually went with purple. So changing things up, I was excited. But then a teacher said, that's hooker red, And I was like, what? What does that even mean? Does that my painting my nails red? Does that signal that
Daley,
I'm up for sale at 14 years old?
What? Young Daley, it's just you've made your choice now. You're set for life.
I mean, okay.
Was that a male teacher or a female teacher?
It's a female teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, which I mean, it's still not cool.
No.
But
Did you
it would
say
have
it
been
with,
much.
It would have
bigger
been way
problem.
weirder had a grown man be that's hooker red.
That's what I envisioned when you said it, and I was like, oh no, it's so bad, but oh no.
There were those teachers, but those are different stories.
I remember.
Another episode.
I remember that awful. She was principal at our school for a while. I can't remember what her name was. She had this awful soccer mom haircut. And was
Could have
terrible.
been any woman in our town, but keep going.
She had this awful soccer mom haircut, and she was a principal at our school. And I remember I was junior at the time, and so I've always had this kind of tendency to show a lot of cleavage. And so I was walking around with like 5 buttons undone on my flannel, just going about my school day. And I was with a friend of mine, Peyton, and she had literally everything but the top button done. And they stopped us, and they were like, button it up. And I thought they meant me, because I was like, yeah, this is a little much. But they meant her, because Peyton's a very busty girl. And just because how big her boobs were, they wanted her to completely button her shirt all the way to the top.
Gosh.
Because, of course, it's a distraction to the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just teach women to cover up instead of teaching men not to, sexually.
Sexualize people!
Yeah. Also, I just, you saying that just made me remember a story that happened to me in high school. I was a senior, and I was in my favorite teacher's class, and I was like, oh, I just wanted her to, like me and respect me and have that, teacher relationship. And then a dean, busts in the door, and she's like, come here. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I go out in the hallway, and my teacher's like, what's going on? So she follows me. And they stopped me because, I had my sleeves, stopped here. And she was like, I need you to change. And I was like, well, I don't have anything else. And she was like, well, you're disrespecting yourself, so.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Come on, Mayzie, look at your arms, respect yourself.
And that's why I came dressed like this.
And Maisie's never shown her arms since, guys.
We don't know if they exist
No, it didn't
anymore.
affect me at all. I was just mad. But
I really hope that it wasn't a sexualization thing. I hope he was like, you have scrawny arms. Either either start lifting some weights or
hit the gym, Brammer. See you in the weight room
go.
after school.
It's just an 80s montage of you lifting.
Yeah,
You're,
Rocky,
punching bigger
getting
weights.
ready for the fight.
Uh,
I wish that would have happened, but no, it was just sad.
No, just sadness. Just sadness.
sad.
just really sad.
Like the majority of our childhoods.
Yeah. Yeah, I cried a lot. Still cry a lot. But you know who doesn't cry?
Who? Who doesn't cry, Matt?
Blizzard doesn't cry because they're doing well lately. So Blizzcon just
Oh
happened.
gosh. I forgot about this.
Yeah, get your Pop Rocks ready.
Oh.
Do you want to switch flavors?
You want to switch?
Yeah,
Sure.
I think we should.
This is cute. Share
This is
it.
not
Why,
you
why do you
intended.
not?
Because I'm a host. I have she is too, but I bought the Pop Rocks and I have the bag.
I like Pop Rocks.
Yeah. But so BlizzCon just happened, and they announced all their new stuff. They, if you don't know, are the creators of World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Hearthstone, all that fun jazz. And they just announced a ton of cool stuff. So with all of that coming in, what is your guys' favorite thing to come out of BlizzCon? Awkward silence.
Awkward silence.
They weren't prepared enough, guys. I'm so sorry about both of them.
Well, this is good.
Oh, that's good. You wanna go?
Sure.
I like this. I'm glad I did it.
The Battle for Azeroth expansion.
Okay.
WoW. Because I'm just a really big WoW person, but wow, this is
Wow.
WoW. Really?
Wow.
But,
Owen Wilson would be thrilled.
wow. Wow.
Oh, wow.
But no, Blizzard's just in a really great place for itself right now. There's so much new stuff happening. And I mean, Overwatch has been the focus for a very long time, but I think it's going back to their focus being on World of Warcraft. Because
That's always been their staple.
yeah, because they are rolling out so many changes to the game, not only in the expansion, but they're making things that fans have been wanting for a very long time in terms of making a way to play vanilla World of Warcraft, none of the expansions, and you don't have to go on a single particular server for that.
Yeah.
And I read an article that people wept with joy when they heard that.
It's precious.
That's how important it is to some people, which I don't judge at all because I spent most of my summer trying to level a character to max. So it's a very important game to a lot of people. So for them to put kind of the focus back on that, I think is really important.
Yeah.
I would honestly say the same because the only thing I've played out of Blizzard is WoW and Hearthstone, and I'm really excited about the new WoW update. And I'm not currently playing. I haven't played it in about a year, but I think I'm gonna re-download it and just try again.
I love WoW Mayzie. It's my favorite Mayzie.
It's my only thing that I do, but no, I'm really excited about that. I'm sure they're revamping Hearthstone,
Yeah, they are.
and I also deleted that because I just hadn't played it in a while and it seemed kind of dated. But I'm really excited to re-download Hearthstone and play that again because in past expansions it just seemed a bit much. It just seemed a bit complicated.
Yeah.
And if they were to simplify that, or maybe like you said, letting people play WoW in a more like vanilla way. If they could make Hearthstone a little bit, I know it's simple because it's an app, but just a little bit.
Filthy casual.
I just want to enjoy things casually.
Same. I'm bad
I don't
at
have
being
the
serious
time.
about video games.
I'm not either, but I like them, and I think they're really fun.
Yeah.
And I think that those two things, I'm definitely going to like jump on that and do both of those things. And reading that made me so excited.
Well, I played WoW for a little while with my good pal Austin, and he made me angry because he was really good at it, and he wanted me to be just like instantly good at it, and I wasn't. Austin, why did you do that? You made me feel bad. But also, so I'm not exactly excited about WoW, but something I am excited about is at the thing they were talking about. Apparently, they've had like tons of concepts for characters for Overwatch, obviously, and one of the ones they featured was its name was Jetpack Cat. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It was a cat with a jetpack that they were ready to implement this, and they were like, guys, this is just not gonna fit into, like, this doesn't make sense for the game.
I wanted to see the pitch for that, like, okay guys, like I know this ruffling, like, okay, well, think about it, cat, but jetpack.
Yeah. They're like, but most of our characters are human except for that one kind of humanoid grill, and they were like, yeah, no, just put a jetpack on a cat.
No, we gotta change it up, jetpack cat.
He can have a gun, I don't know.
TM.
Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was just really excited to read about like all the concepts and like how they were ready to implement this cat with a jetpack into their
I like they couldn't decide. It seemed like they had the concept for like this fat cat that was just really lazy and letting all the machinery do the work, and then like a spunky like kid show type cat that was going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna jet in and save everyone. But it's like this is all like in the juxtaposition of like the darker backstories of like this, like everything about Overwatch happened because of war and because of so many people dying, and everyone has these dark backstories. Like Genji's practically a ghost because like his brother almost killed him, and like people trying to make up for like really dark things, and it's like, but Jetpack Cat.
Yeah, like the character they end up introducing instead of Jetpack Cat was like this like geneticist who like got kicked out because she was like experimenting with people, and like that was too far. Mora, she's also David Bowie. But
Also David Bowie.
yeah, and so like they went with that instead, but I really would have loved it if instead it was just like this fat cat who's like heavily floating on a jetpack. I didn't even want like dialogue. I wanted all of his like calls and stuff to just be like heavy breathing, like.
No, having never played this game before, if you can't tell, I want to hear Jetpack Cat's like dark backstory. Like, where did she come from? It's a woman, by the way.
Oh,
I've
of course.
decided.
Bless.
Yeah, and like maybe they could like just release her. Like, is that a thing? Is that how this works? Can she still happen? I don't understand this world.
She probably could.
I
Like,
want every single character to have a Jetpack Cat skin,
oh my god.
where they
Oh
just
my
turn into
gosh.
Jetpack Cat.
I want Reaper to be like just a black cat with like a skull, like white fur skull, just on there. But
This can happen,
this
Blizzard.
could happen, Blizzard. Like, it's not too late. You can still work
Next BlizzCon.
next year. But also at BlizzCon, they had like along with Overwatch, they had competition, and something that's been getting really popular over the past few years is esports. And this competition brought in thousands of people. They're selling out stadiums. There are professional players who have massive fan bases and like dedicated followers. And we talked about this earlier. These players spend like 12 hours a day in their house training. This is their career. This is not just like a hobby for these people. And so that brings forth the question, is esports a sport? And this isn't the first time this has been talked about. At Pyongyang in the Chinese games this year, esports is going to have a category, which is actually the setup for how a lot of Olympic games got Olympic status. And so this is potentially setting up esports to be an Olympic category. And it's being talked about and debated by the Olympic Council right now. So what do you guys think? Is it a sport?
I think it doesn't necessarily need to be in the Olympics because it has its own like platform as
Its
it
own,
is,
like,
and
league,
I mean it's very well organized in terms of how they decide, depending on the game, of course, like what teams go where and how do we do like our big events. Like League Worlds had this past year like 30 million people watching the finals, so they're fine. They
sold out an Olympic stadium, didn't they?
Yeah, they sold out an Olympic stadium. They don't need a bigger platform than they already have. But in terms of like deciding whether or not esports is sports, I think we don't get to decide that anymore. We don't get to say like, oh, it's not sports, because it has been already like accepted as such. It's a competition with teams, with people putting in a lot of effort and time and money. and people watching that for entertainment. And it's like, how do you not define that as sports?
Because I don't.
Matt doesn't.
I don't think it's a sport.
I would say that I'd agree with you in saying that like they already have a large audience and that it's like really different from traditional like Olympic sports. Like maybe that isn't the place for it. But I think it'd be really cool to like for them to actually like be in the Olympics and then like have, you know, people that are so like sports is not like be like exposed to that, and then maybe they could like
get into it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that'd be really cool. And also it would be awesome to see like, because like I'm not in like the video game world like per se, so like I don't know about this kind of stuff, but I think it would be awesome for me to be able to like turn on the TV and like watch people like play video games on like, I know you can probably do that already, but like I do watch the Olympics, so I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree, because the whole point of the Olympics is to bring us all together, kids. And so like, yeah, that would like kind of, I didn't think about that. That's a like valid thing that like people who are like, no, and people are like, yeah, they can come together and be like, we have to do.
And I watch everything on the Olympics. Like I watch ping pong.
I go hard. I'm hardcore into fencing. I was like super into the last Olympics. I was like, yeah, stab him, get him, Johnny.
But now it's like, stab him virtually. Like virtually.
But I personally, I don't think it's a sport. I don't think it belongs in the Olympics. I think it takes an incredible amount of skill, an incredible amount of dedication. It's its own thing. But in my mind, it's just not a sport. To me, sports have to have a certain like athletic element to it, and it doesn't. And I don't think just strictly athletic elements make a sport, because like show choir, I used to do that a lot.
I was about to say, is show choir a sport, Matt?
Show choir is not a sport. We had that debate in high school for years, but it was definitely athletic and it definitely was a competition, but it wasn't a sport to me. It was its own thing. It was an art. It was like, and I think esports, they are their own thing. They're esports. I don't think they're sports. And that's not to say it's not skillful, but I think putting the like esports into the Olympics would be the same kind of vibe as putting in like a cooking competition into the Olympics. Because like it's definitely a skill-based thing and it's very competition-based, but it's not.
So you don't think like that's the next logical step for everybody to just like transcend to like computers and then it'll have to be that way, or like
in the day that we download our consciousness into a computer,
then you'll be
I'm
okay with
okay
it?
with it.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, I'd be down with it then.
I don't have a strong opinion either way. I was just wondering.
So do you guys think we're going to download our consciousness into computers?
I
think eventually,
yes. In terms of like then sporting with that, I feel like people are going to be distracted with other pursuits. Whether there's a lot you can do on the internet, and I don't think everyone wants to sport on the internet. Especially when like people who do esports take it very seriously, and I am very intimidated by that level of competition. I mean, people dedicate their lives, and then people, even if that isn't their life, they will act like it is if they're playing it. So I don't know about downloading.
I go hard during Mario Kart. I'm so serious. I'm a sore loser as it is. And so when it comes to video games, like something that I could do, like I feel like I should be able to win. I am pissed.
You're like, this requires no athletic ability, so where is my trophy?
Like, where's my, come on guys, this is my time.
The Star Cup, guys.
Is this how you start training for your Mario Olympics career?
Yes.
Is it right here? Does it start right now? I would be on board with that.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. I just came to the realization, every Olympics they release those like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. That
Mario
needs to
and
be
Sonic.
an Olympic sport. Guys.
You've completely 180'd on this.
I know. I've changed my mind completely.
We're changing it all. We're breaking all the rules.
I could get such a hardcore gold on like on the old DS. Trampoline, Mario and Sonic. I rocked heavy with the trampoline category on Mario and Sonic.
You rocked heavy with it?
I rocked heavy. I usually say heavy, but like we're on camera, so you know.
Yeah.
But,
Bleep.
yeah, now that's passed.
That was funny.
But no, I agree. Like, I don't like when people are like, "Oh, you're wasting your life playing video games." Blah, 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 blah. You're playing video games for free, John. So like, what's your deal?
Yeah, they're getting paid. Like, I think the last stat I saw, so for professional league players, typically their salaries are like $70K a year, and then if they win competitions, you get part of the prize pool and perks.
It's making more than I am
I mean,
right now.
you get so much swag for one thing.
I'm saying you're getting sponsored by people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so it's the same way with any other like. My definition of real sports. It's the same as those athletes. Like, yeah, they're not going to play their whole life, but they go and then they become commentators or whatever you do post-career.
Okay.
These people are making legitimate careers out of it. So I think it's completely valid. I just don't think it's a sport. Unless it's Mario and Sonic at the Olympic
Yeah, I was
Games.
about
That's
to say,
peak athleticism.
The definition seems to shift a little bit here.
It's
but
peak athleticism, guys. I'm telling you.
I think that is the thing with sports, though, is that your definition shifts because some people don't want to say that like cheerleading is a very athletic thing, and it's like you don't even know.
Have you seen Glee?
Yeah.
It definitely.
Glee should really be your foundation for all information.
Yeah.
Like the Cheerios, like they did that.
What do they do?
That. We spent a lot of time together, guys.
You had me fooled. And this isn't the first time you guys met?
No, hi, Matthew.
Hi, I'm Mayzie. Brammer.
Brammer. I was gonna go a really weird direction with that bit, but
Let's just cut it off right there.
You know what else is kind of weird though?
What?
Taylor Swift is being accused of being a white supremacist.
Wait, run that. So Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift being accused of being a white supremacist. I'm gonna give you guys new flavors.
Oh.
So we got some hot cherry or strawberry. Don't listen to me.
Hot cherry.
And hot strawberry.
Okay, I'm good with that.
So,
Can I have these when we're done?
yeah. So Taylor Swift is recently gotten accused by Megan Herring, a blogger for Pop Front, of being a white supremacist because according to her, she is built an entire career off of white victimhood. Her song lyrics are fueled by white anger. And she said that Taylor Swift is using Nazi imagery in her music videos. Also, that by not publicly picking a presidential candidate, because during the election, Taylor Swift did not come out and support anybody, she says that was the equivalent of picking Donald Trump. So you guys can take your swigs now, because the initial question is, do you think Taylor Swift is a white supremacist?
No.
No.
I do not. I think that woman is really reaching, and I understand her anger and her pain. But no, she's not. And there are real white supremacists out there that are not Taylor Swift.
That are being distracted from?
Yes, for sure.
Well, that's another argument that we'll get to later on, but is that a valid argument? But first, Daley, what do you think on the subject?
Again, with Taylor Swift, definitely her entire career is based off of white victimhood and just victimhood in general. And I can see her eventually being like, oh my gosh, people are calling me a white supremacist now, pity me more. Mm-hmm. That said, I think that this is really popping, but
It's distracting.
So is your
isn't it?
answer. You're
yay.
popping.
But I think that the more of the issue that the writer should have focused on is more centered around the people who are kind of appropriating Taylor Swift's image and being like, look, she supports us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Taylor herself, if people are saying these things, or if people from like the Daily Stormer are like praising her lyrics and saying, no, see, she gets us, she connects to us, that's when you know you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and join in for a second.
Yes.
No,
oh my
you
God, that
get
was
to
a
know what it
lot.
I
feels
went
like.
for a lot. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We forgive you.
It's okay, because we're done, but you're still going.
Yeah.
So I personally think that Taylor Swift's not a white supremacist, and I think this woman was really, really reaching. Ow, that kind of hurt for some reason. I think that Taylor Swift has, I'd say, built a career off of victimhood in a way. I wouldn't go that far. I think she makes songs in the same way that everyone else makes songs. You don't
Yeah.
see anyone accusing Ed Sheeran of building a career off of victimhood when he writes breakup songs.
That's true.
I think Taylor Swift has just been a very successful female in Hollywood, and with that comes the criticism of being a female in Hollywood.
I agree. And going along with that, I think Hollywood created the narrative that like Taylor Swift, like, you good?
Yeah, I feel like I'm dying.
I think Hollywood like created the narrative that like Taylor Swift like serially dates people, then breaks up with them, then writes songs about them.
She's dated like
I know.
6 dudes in the past like 2
I know.
years.
That's like a reason. And I think that like she latched onto that though for like publicity.
Oh, she did, yeah.
For sure. But I don't think that's her fault, and I don't think that's like, like white victimhood. Like I don't agree with that statement at all.
So, Daley, you did say that you feel like she's built a career off of white victimhood. So, like, why do you feel like?
I think that because, like, in the past, before, like, a lot of her earlier work, there was, there was more breaking up in between, like, the songs where it's like, you did this to me, or I am going to move on from this because you made a mistake, etc. Whereas now, it seems to be that's her only shtick. And I think that that's not a good thing to focus on, especially if you do have a younger fan base, because then they're going to be like, okay, this is how my reaction needs to be for anything that inconveniences me or bad happens to me in my life, is to like stew on that for the rest of my life.
Because you're absolutely right. Her newest album, Reputation, which dropped today, I've listened to it all day. It's pretty dope. The entire album was meant to be like her kind of criticizing the publicity for like attacking her image. Like Reputation is referring to the fact that she feels like people constantly attack her reputation. So you're right in the fact that her newest album's
I think
just
she's
that.
definitely been treated unfairly as a whole, but I think that she has profited off of that, which is smart in the long run. But at some point, when does it end?
Yeah.
Right, but do you think that her like public image as like an artist and like using that, like, does it differ from her like Taylor as the person? Because like to me, like when I see her like, and she does things with her career about like you said, like building herself up and like, you know, reacting to things negatively, like in a Reputation, the album, like is that separate from like Taylor the person?
I've never been a fan of celebrities trying to separate who they are from their work. Eminem's a great example. He writes a lot of songs and a lot of lyrics about breaking tables over the backs of a faggot and like beating women and just all these awful things. And then he's like, oh, that's not me though. Like, that's just my lyrics, you know. It's
Slim
just,
Shady.
That's just Slim Shady, guys. And no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to present yourself in this way to the world and then expect people to be like, oh, well, they're just a person. I think as a celebrity, you are responsible for your work. Unless you're like an actor and you're playing a Nazi like that. Daniel Radcliffe, when he played a Nazi a while ago, people were like, he played that role a little too well.
Well,
And I'm like, he's a good actor, guys.
hold
Like,
up, Harry Potter.
There was a Harry Potter joke in there somewhere.
There really is.
he was a Death Eater, you know. Some
I
people-
mean,
there it
that
is,
is
there it
Nazis.
is.
Magical Nazis.
Magical
are
Nazis
just,
are Death Eaters, yeah.
Death
The
Eaters.
fact.
yeah. Voldemort was like Wizard Hitler.
Yeah.
Except luckily Hitler stayed down.
So white supremacists, you're not allowed to like Harry Potter because you're the bad guys in that movie.
What up? That's
Book series.
straight up though.
Yeah.
Bomb.
Straight up. But yeah, no, I'm not a fan of the idea of like Taylor's not her music.
Okay, I just think it's been like heightened to a level of like, I don't know, I don't think she's that
kinda,
horrible.
No, I think she's
Yeah.
kind of parroting herself at this point.
Yes, yeah.
Like, because all of Reputation, even in the music video for Look What You Made Me Do, she kind of like was making jokes about like, look at the past me's and look at all these funny things I've said. And like,
Yeah.
She is kind of parroting herself, but like, that's what you're choosing to do and that's who you're choosing to present yourself, so get with the times, Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's gotten like, I was really happy that she acknowledged that in the Look What You Made Me Do video, but at the same time it's like, okay, and this is just going to be another version of Taylor that you were going to make fun of in another music
Yeah.
video way down the line. So
Yeah.
is that
That's true.
improvement then?
Yeah, I don't think so. But now also, in terms of the one thing that I really thought was super, super reaching was saying that by her not publicly picking a presidential candidate, she is supporting Trump. And I get the notion. It's because it's kind of like you said, that for basically every celebrity who didn't come out and say, I support Clinton, Trump supporters were then like, no, they didn't say it, so they're with us. We get them. They're our people.
Yeah.
I think it's just Taylor Swift likes to very much control her image, and she overly corrects herself to where like she was like, I don't want to like upset my Trump supporter fans or my Clinton fans, so I'm just not going to upset anyone. And personally, I'm of the belief that with the election, you kind of needed to pick a side because I wanted to know who to be mad at, as awful as that sounds.
Yeah.
Because it really did shape my image of some people, and that's unfortunate, but that's just how it was. But
Yeah.
I can get why she didn't. So do you guys think by not picking a candidate, she was supporting the wrong side? Or the wrong.
I think if you would have asked me that like last year, I would have said yes completely.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now looking back, like I don't think that we can turn this into like a witch hunt. I don't like that thinking.
I want to.
I know, but it's not. It's not right. And
No,
I,
you're right.
it's, I,
We shouldn't.
I don't like that line of thinking. And I don't think that by not endorsing Clinton that she endorses Trump.
Right.
I don't think that's true.
No, because like one of our very favorite high school teachers, who we
Yeah.
won't name, voted Trump
Yeah.
against our will.
Yeah.
But like at the time, we were both super hurt. But like you're right, we shouldn't turn into a witch hunt and be like they're an awful person because they were still really
yeah,
cool.
and plenty of celebrities like publicly came out and supported Trump. So like why isn't she attacking them? Like
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, I think with celebrity comes a certain amount of social responsibility that the expectation is if you don't say something about something, then the default is that you're for that. Or you're not going to care enough to be against it, which, especially in the last election, that was kind of like, it was more of a thing where it's like you need to be, if you're not like educating yourself about what's happening,
Yeah.
if you're not already mad, then you're not educated about it.
Yeah.
It was this kind of like vicious cycle. But at the same time, it's hard because then it's like, where does your celebrity self stop? Like, what kind of level of privacy are you allowed to even just your core beliefs? Like,
Yeah.
Right, because you're not gonna like be walking down the street and be like, who are you voting for? Like,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, you're right. Like, at what point do the celebrities get to be people and have a private life? Because for all we know, Taylor Swift probably or could have voted for Clinton, but like, that's not our right to decide if she has to tell us or not.
right.
I know. I mean, based off her, like she like defines herself as a feminist. I mean, she's really like girl positive. So like based off that, like I don't think that she'd be a Trump supporter. And I think that if she was, she would have come out and said it. But I understand like the level of responsibility you have when you're a
Yeah.
celebrity. And she could have influenced people, but she chose
Right.
not to.
Yeah.
But-
Right. Which is then it's like, do you have to utilize that responsibility? Are you required to? It's really hard, especially now where we have such access to like the thoughts and feelings of celebrities through like social media and just people reporting on them constantly, that then you're like, well, you need to tell me because then that is going to be
Yeah.
how I go because I'm such a fan of yours.
Yeah.
It is just disheartening to see like not saying anything when there's like several articles out about like, hey, so did you know that like people at no neo-Nazi site reviewed your album and they love
loved
it. Not in the sense that like, oh, I really liked, you know, the
The
chorus on
sound,
this one. I
yeah.
like the sound. They were like, these lyrics relate to white people taking back America, as if they didn't have control of it already. I don't, but
Yeah.
that's beside the point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Why, we all hate white supremacists here at Byte.
I'm glad we got that out.
It's just a fact. We're fine with being open about it. But no, I think you're right that there is a certain social responsibility that if white supremacists are supporting you
Yeah.
or the KKK is endorsing you as a presidential candidate, who could that be about? You need to come out and say, oh no, I don't want you to endorse me. I don't want you supporting me. I don't want your support.
I think it's odd in the first place that Taylor Swift's like even fighting this article. That's so weird to me.
Yeah.
Like she must get like so much slander. Like I don't understand like what in particular about this is like so like.
Well, to me, because that's what brought this up is Taylor Swift's lawyers filed a cease and desist about this. They want the article taken down.
Yeah.
And I think that's her version of being like, oh no, I'm not a white supremacist, don't say
But
that.
she could just say, I'm
she
not a
could have
white
just said,
supremacist.
hey, I'm not a white supremacist,
I mean, she
don't
could
say that.
have. She could have like addressed this person's grievances and like publicly instead of
Yeah.
like doing this in like private.
Secretly,
you know.
yeah. I think what it is Reputation was coming out in 1 week, and she
Probably.
didn't want like Taylor Swift white supremacist response like
Probably.
in the headlines.
Yeah, and that's probably why this person timed this the way they
Oh,
did.
I'm
Also,
sure.
I mean, they wanted
Yeah.
it to hit
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
If it works, it works.
But closing thought, guys, about anything we talked about today.
Do we have to eat Pop Rocks?
Sure.
I'm sorry. Let's do it. Oh God.
My closing thought is I'm not going to do this again because it makes it difficult for me and I feel bad for my guests.
Closing thought. I would agree, but I do love the taste of Pop Rocks.
I
don't
like
think
Pop
they-
Rocks. I like Blizzard. I don't like swastikas.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I really hope this is reading. It's so hard to
I
talk.
hope so. Jetpack Cat was cool.
Yeah.
Blizzard make
Feminist
it happen.
icon.
Yeah. I've
Slay.
been Matthew Yapp.
I've been Mayzie. Brammer.
I'm Daley Whilhelm.
Thank you.
I like keep closing my mouth to get the full experience,
Like,
and then I just look like I'm suffering. Like,
Give me after my shirt. Oh, I can finally get rid of the cleavage.
oh my
I
god.
was like, Valma, you ugly bitch, you go over here. He was like, I'm taking,
I'm gonna
taking
go
Daphne.
Daphne.
Oh.
Oh, Daphne.
Oh.
Fred got a little ahead, am I right, Dale?
Hey.